Hello and welcome back. So this is going to be my last sports photography video, probably until August when we have our first soccer game. School is out, which means I'm pretty much done with sports until they come back and we start the next season. So recently we had the D2 National Track and Field Championships up at Emporia State University, and I went up for the final day and covered track from about 10 a.m. until 6:30 p.m. It was a very busy day. I left about 6:30 in the morning from the lake back here close to home and got there pretty early. I got there about an hour and a half before the track meet started, grabbed some coffee, and just kind of got familiar with where throwing and where all the events were going to be held at. And then found out that media passes were going to be very short, even though I had a credential and was pre-approved. You had to have a vest to get on the field, which is where pole vault and high jump and triple jump and long jump were. And you could shoot from the outside, but it was definitely better if you can get into the field. And so I didn't have one because once they were checked out, those people never came back and swapped them out. So I made it work without one and kind of just push my luck on getting on the field when I can. And luckily I was able to get away with it for most of the day, except for a few times. But I didn't really miss any event because of that, and I made it work, and I found ways to make it work. And one way I made it work was with my rental lens. So I rented the Canon EF 100-400. It is a 4.5 to 5.6 image stabilized lens, and I adapted it to the Canon R6. Now this lens did not give me the fast mechanical shutter at 12 frames per second, but I went to electronic shutter and that fixed the issue. Luckily in track, using an electronic shutter, you don't see a lot of rolling shutter and you don't get a lot of weird bending in anything. So I rocked with that for the whole day with that lens. And then on the second body, I did have my 24-70 in case I had any opportunities to get any close-up shots or any shots that I wanted to get with a wider angle. But today we're going to be talking specifically about my experience with the 100-400. So my overall experience with this lens was amazing. I had no issues with the autofocus. The autofocus was super sharp, super fast, and it wasn't a big issue having a slower lens. And what I mean by slower is that it was a 4.5 to a 5.6. And what I mean by that also is that when you're at 100, it is 4.5. And then as you zoom out to 400, it's going to move all the way up to 5.6. But luckily, track, outdoors, it's super sunny, super bright, plenty of light. I was still able to keep my ISO at 400 all day and still have fast enough shutter speeds to stop the action for what I was capturing. Overall, this lens was pretty light. It's about the size of a 70-200, and even zoomed out at 400, it didn't seem that heavy and it didn't seem that front heavy as the lens protruded out. So overall, the lens it felt great in the hands. It was super fast autofocus, super sharp. I didn't have any images that were soft, even at 400. I kept my settings where it allowed it to go from 4.5 to 5.6. I wasn't worried about that extra, those stops of light I might be losing. And I just kept my ISO in auto for this whole track meet. And I never had any issues with my exposures. They were always spot on. I think the highest ISO it ever jumped up to was 800 when I was shooting into the shade on one area. And I think that might have been when I was shooting the coach talking to his shot putter. But other than that, I was at 400 or even down to 100 all day long with this lens. So you can make it work if it's bright enough out. And the biggest factor of trying out this lens is next year we have golf and soccer coming to our college. And I do have the 300 2.8, and I could probably make that work for both sports. But I figured I would try to find something maybe a little budget friendly that I can adapt to get some extra length to cover the bigger field and the longer fairways. But overall, for right now, I'm going to hold off, but it was a good test. I might rent it out next year when we get into golf and soccer and see how well it really does in those factors before I purchase. So I'll probably wait around and see, and something might come out for the RF that fits the bill much better, or maybe I can upgrade to maybe a 400 down the road. But I'm kind of just playing it by ear right now, and I figured why not try it out. It was only like $100 rental for 4 days, and I got a 5th day because it was a holiday weekend. So overall, I loved this lens, and I was actually shocked. I figured it would be maybe a little slow on the autofocus, or it wouldn't give me good separation being a 4.5 to 5.6 lens, but 5.6 at 400, I still was able to separate my subject from the background. So as you've been seeing the photos coming across the screen, I also mixed in some of the wide angle shots that I got at the end with the 24 to 70, and that is pretty much it. I will be doing some videos coming up soon over some film, a couple point shoots maybe that I just purchased super cheap that I was testing out. So I might do a video over some film that I've been shooting, and if any sport topics come up throughout the summer, I will definitely be throwing those in as much as possible, as I know most of my viewers are here for sports. But with that said, I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.